Welcome on in to the BUSR. Minor delays on the streaming end for this one. We will have a lobby of 16 drivers here today for the BUSR Spring Split into 2026. We've got a lot of action for you today, qualifying up first into that 50% race here at Bahrain. I am joined by Max Lovejoy. How are you doing this evening?
How are you doing? I'm doing great, thank you very much. And it's so good to be back here watching some of these great drivers race around one of well, in my opinion, the best track on the grid. So yeah, it's an absolute honor. Thank you very much for having me once again. And hopefully we'll be getting cars out on track very shortly because there are green flags out for the qualifying session.
Yeah, as we saw last season, Chris's Pillar Chorus ended up going on to dominate the season, seemingly winning out every opportunity that he could find. Though he will want to be replicating that today, we do have plenty of competition for him, one of those being the driver of Woolly Blob, the teammate, Ben Mills, who we're currently on board with.
Yeah, it's an interesting track round here, especially, well, these get my words out. Ben Mills has been racing in this category for a little while now. He was racing last season in the Williams. He's racing once again in the Williams, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do in Bahrain, as he was relatively competitive last time out. Or at least when I was commentating around Singapore, so it'll be really interesting to see what he does here round the hot circuit of. Sorry, I thought he went off the track then. He was just warming up his tyres. Around the really incredibly hot track of Bahrain. But this surface is really old as well. Last resurfaced in 2004, and of course, the F1 games do put that into consideration. So grip levels aren't the highest. Degradation is very much the highest around here. So that'll be something to look forward to in the race if we're looking for strategy. But Ben Mills starting his lap round turn 14 into 15 and down the long straight. DRS will be wide open to see what his banker lap can be.
As this will be potentially the last in-game season with DRS, he will utilize that to great effect as the cards will be changing with a mild lockup going into turn number 1. He will be rapidly trying to make mistakes up for that one, but you're seeing him twitching at the wheel already. A bit of a scruffy start for Ben Mills in the Williams, with right behind him that Racing Bulls trying to not make those same replications in mistakes, but still clean air for Ben Mills. The track won't be warmed up to temperature just yet. As we round through Sector 2, he does set the initial purple, but he blocks up again going into this tricky section, and that does not portray well for turns number 10, the downhill off camber, where it is so easy to make a mistake, and we do see that another lockup comes on out. He will charge down this back straight then, one of 4 straights on this circuit, before he rounds into a nice upwards flowing section where he doesn't have to worry about being as tentative on brakes just for a moment, as we get a yellow flag out in Sector 3, as he then sets that purple middle sector again because he is first out on track with only a few corners to round us out.
Yeah, what's really interesting about this track, obviously we've got the infamous turn 9 and 10. That's really difficult to get right. But we've also got turn 14 here. Turn 14 may look simple, and you may not actually see turn 15, but you only need to worry about turn 15 if you get turn 14 wrong. And when you're worrying about turn 15, you're probably going off, so your track will, your lap time will be deleted. But a 1:26.8 by Ben Mills. That is a time that everybody else is going to try and beat. And we know Ben Mills has left a fair bit of time on the track with those lockouts into turn 1, 4, and 10. Across the line now is the Sauber. Ben Mills stays fastest. These are all banker laps, to be fair. These will be warming up the tyres, getting to grips with the track in these conditions specifically, getting used to other cars on the track, trying to get the best slipstream, and then obviously trying to avoid dirty air at point as well. Ben Mills, though, surprisingly, still has the fastest time, even though he had quite a few mistakes on track.
Yeah, as we said, Chris,
yellow.
As you said, a lot of caution flags being waved, a lot of people just trying to get out the way as much as they can, and that's the representative lap time by your last season's champion, Christos Pilakouras, goes with a 126.7, and it just kind of proves that Ben Mills' time, though he had those lockups, still finds some representative speed out there on track, as there's only 3 drivers left to put out a lap time, and 2 of them are these Alpines and Liams looking racy already.
Yeah, this track is really going extremely wide there at the exit of turn 8. I think that was just within track limits, but that'll be interesting to see. Crossing the line, though, for Jake, and it's a 1:31.4 for now. That's P12. It'll be interesting to see what happens later on if he can set a faster lap time to get himself up into the next qualifying round. And of course, we are doing full qualifying here, so we've got 3 rounds, and there will be eliminations throughout for these 15 drivers on the grid at the time. Again, we've got 2 drivers are still yet to set a lap time, and one of them hasn't even left the pit lane yet. So that'll be interesting to see. Maybe just waiting for an emptier track to get a lot of clean air for them to try and get a great lap time. But it is Christos leading the way by just over a 1/10 of a second to Ben Mills. And of course, Ben Mills is in the pit lane for now, so maybe that was a representative lap time of a push lap. But that'll be interesting to see later on. Of course, he is relatively comfortable up there, so he probably doesn't need to go out once again for today, or for this qualifying Q1.
Yeah, as we have only rushed into this a little bit, it is important to thank the backing people behind BUSR for this spring split. Obviously in partnership with NSC, but it could not happen without the likes of Grid Finder, who open up the opportunity to sign up for this event and expand its reach outside of the universities and allow alumni and external people to also apply to this league to hopefully build that competition at the top of the grid. But from last season, it did seem to be a little bit adrift with the chaos that would fall in the later pack. We are in a bit of a lull at the moment on track, as we do have the drivers setting their first initial sets of times already going on through. But Lally still going around at the moment, not necessarily on a good lap as well, but we do finally see people coming back out onto their laps. One of those drivers being the car in P15 currently, Pinnock in that McLaren, finally going out onto the track using that chrome version of that McLaren livery, which I still love until this day. A nice little throwback to the Vodafone era McLarens, but keeping that papaya colour.
Yeah, there's a lot of tribute liveries out there today, like that beautiful Chrome McLaren you were saying. It's really interesting with that Google Chrome. It's a nice nod to that as well. We also got the Golf livery for Ben Mills that is very similar, actually, to this year's Williams in a way, because of that lighter blue that we see in the 2026 Williams livery. Just more of the car. To be fair, I prefer Ben Mills livery to the actual Williams livery. It's not one of my favorite 2026 liveries. But anyway, I digress. That is, yeah, I do like that livery. It's almost like an invert with a bit of orange for the Golf of the 2026 Williams livery. Heading into turn 4. Again, one of the off-camber corners. It's very easy to go off wide around here. Thing is, Bahrain, it's a fun track to do. It's really flowing. There's really good sections of high-speed, low-speed corners. But it's incredibly difficult, as we see Ben Mills once again locking up into turn 8. And then we'll see if he locks up again into turn 9 and 10. There we go. Locking up into turn 10, missing the apex just a little bit, but he wouldn't lose too much time for that. Heading down now into turn 11, one of the fastest flowing parts of the track, uphill as well, relying on the rear downforce produced by that rear wing and the grip from these Pirelli soft tyres. Fling it through up the hill, and then we'll be starting to head back down. This is where we'll be getting the top speeds of these 2025 Formula One cars here round Bahrain, as he rounds off the final proper corner, turn 14, to open the DRS once again to try and finish this lap. For him, hopefully it will be a better lap than a 1:26.8, and
You won't
I don't
see
think it was.
improvement on that one in specific, as we have Assassin directly behind now, coming towards the line. Does have a bit of an improvement at the moment, but it won't be enough to cut into that advantage that they see out in front of him. As we look towards Zekron in that Selber, this is his first season in the BUSR. He will get that lap invalidated for the moment. And as we see it crossing the line at the moment, Alex Lansdale will have a huge improvement up into P number 3, the teammate of Christos Pilakouris coming into this championship season. But another driver to note is that of Newt, who does so much to help this league's operations and will want to keep staying at the top of the standings like he was last season. And with a P4 provisional at the moment, just 1 second off the pace, that's some good time to find at this early stages. But there hopefully will be just a little bit more coming out from them for now. But Willow is another driver finding a lot of time. But if they go wide like that, it won't be as much time as they will want. But this will certainly be an improvement without any invalidations. That is a 127 flat, pushing them up to P4 and pushing down Nuke, but Wooly responds with their own improvement up to the 126 nines for themselves now. Two tenths off the pace of Christos Pilakouris, and one of the only drivers to take away poles and race wins last season against them.
Yeah, it's getting rather close at the top, really 5 drivers so far. That'll be interesting to see later on in qualifying when it really matters for that top 10. Oh, losing the back end at turn 15. Like I was saying, if you get turn 14 wrong, you're probably going to struggle around turn 15. Who was that? That was Jake, as he's going to cross the line, I imagine, to start his lap. But even then, it's going to be very difficult for him to improve. But that is the fastest sector 2 for Christos. He's got currently a 126 P1 for now, heading down into turn 14, into 15. He'll cross the line in just a moment's time to see what he can do. But he's improved in sector 2. He'll definitely, well, most likely improve in sector 1, and he crosses the line. It's a 126 for a huge improvement and a huge gap for Ben Mills and the others to try and close up. Almost over 4 tenths of a second ahead now. That'll be interesting to see if anybody else can get anywhere near that pretty quick lap. As actually, Ben Mills and Alex Lanslade is in the pit lane for now. It'll be interesting to see if they come out to have one more shot in Q1. But for now, we've got 3 cars out on 2 cars on a timed lap. This is Liam Doherty. He is currently P7 in the blue Andink Alpine, swinging it up through the hilly section of this track. This part of the track's really good fun to drive, I've got to say. It's really hard to overtake, so when you get an overtake up the hill, it's pretty impressive. But you're really relying on a soft right foot and the grippy rear end of that Alpine for Liam's sake, as he will be rounding off the lap in just a moment's time with a very empty track, pretty much all to himself.
That's if he's not going to be coming into the pit lane, which we will see him doing. That leaves only Christos Pilakouris to come back into the pit lane, and then Zekron down in 13th, who needs to find some time to get a bit more competitive in this lobby, but isn't too far adrift of his teammate in that Selber in Meet the Teacher. 5 tenths in front. They all have a completely clear track with 4 minutes left in the session, and everyone in the pit lane, they have the perfect opportunity to set themselves a clean lap with clean air and still have some time to reorientate themselves if it does go a little bit awry. But they won't be wanting that to happen now, as they open up that DRS flat wide on open and pass their teammate coming out of the pit lane, and will head towards turn number 1, getting towards that apex without that lockup we've been seeing characteristically come out from a few key drivers. But they do push that track limits very, very wide on the exit, but it does not invalidate that lap time as they head now towards the second part of the circuit. It's so important to keep this part nice and neat and tidy, as the track limits can be cautious and harsh on top of these curves. But it is also fun to note, Zekron last time out got 2nd place in the LMU series that we are now running in spring here at BUSR as well, which happens out on Tuesday nights, as we do see that lockup through turn number 10, that key corner on the braking zone to try and gain some lap time. But they will have a few more corners to try and tackle as they get back around, close that DRS, sharply turn on in that kick Sauber once again, and will definitely be trying to wring it out of this car as we hit a purple middle sector and a 7/10 improvement for their own lap time. But I will note that there is sometimes a bug that if you get a green lap time, it shows up purple anyways on the spectator client. So it's still definitely a massive improvement on their own lap time as they go through that back corner. They will head towards the line. 7/10 is the margin they had already found. Will they find any more for the last few corners and jump into 11th place with a 9/10 improvement in jumping into the 128.8? We're directly behind that Haas of GMT.
Yeah, like you said, it was really important for him to get a perfect middle sector, and we saw that. Like you said, there might have been a glitch with the purple sector, but anyways, it was a really quick middle sector, and you could tell that because it actually looked kind of slow, it's weird, right? It is mad that sometimes when you see a car going around, especially sector 2 around here in Bahrain, if it's neat and tidy but looks slow, a lot of the time it's actually really, really quickly. You don't want a car playing around and a handful to drive around that section, simply because you're going to be losing time. As we saw that as the Sauber did jump up into 11th place. We're on board now with the 34, Luke Sawyer. Now he's got a 131 flat at the minute. I'm sure he's going to aim to improve as he rounds off sector 1 in just a moment's time. I imagine it will be an improvement and try and close up to the rest of the pack and possibly even challenge the front of the field. As you can see, that car is really planted. There wasn't much movement in the steering wheel as he turned in. When he turned in, the car turned in with him. There was no movement through the tyres. There was no understeer or oversteer. I think that's a slight lockup into turn 10, as we've seen by the majority of other drivers. It's one of the it is the hardest corner on the track, one of the hardest in the world. DRS slamming shut as they swoop through the uphill section to try and round off the second sector in just a moment's time. And it is green for now, I believe.
Yeah, 2.9 seconds improvement on their current lap time, which is to be expected out of Luke Sawyer as long as they keep it tidy. A consistent challenger at into the points last season out will want to replicate that performance or even improve upon it and use that as a baseline for performance this season round. And that will push them up into the 6th position, finding a second in that last sector, which is mighty impressive to do. But we do have a few cars starting laps directly in front of this Alpine of Jake, who pushes themselves into P11. Behind that, then you've got Wooly coming across the line, finding a mild lap time improvement as well, getting into 2nd place. Then behind that, the second Racing Bulls of Lally jumping into P6, pushing down their own teammate. And it's all starting to get a little bit leery on track now as everyone are trying to put in their lap times. But one driver that won't is the Kick Sauber of Meet the Teacher, who gets a track limits invalidation and won't find a lap time improvement. As we do see another Williams of Ben Mills also charging into the pit lane, as Christos Pilokoris is rounding the back end of the track with his teammate ahead of him and a Red Bull in Newt as well. They will both want to try and find some lap times as they're both getting pushed down heavily, but Alex less so, but he still wants to be up there with his teammate and not being left behind. He won't find a lap time improvement. No, will only find one position, but Christos Pilokoris will extend that track lead and get a 126.2 as directly behind Willow pushes into P number 5 with a little bit of an improvement. Liam will then get into P number 6. Pinnock will set no valid lap times in the session in the end as well, which will leave only a couple of cars left on track. Jake not being one of those with an improvement, but that Ferrari was the last to cross the line with a valid lap time, but won't find the necessary improvement and will stay P number 10 for now as we head through the back end of qualifying. And all of these drivers will be wanting to get racing already for the first time in the spring split of BUSR.
Yeah, we've got racing on track already between the Haas and the Ferrari. Guys, it's qualifying. Checkered flags out. Calm yourself down a little bit. Anyway, As the final cars round the final corner to cross the line as their lap time, and there we go. Here's a crash for you.
The signature
I
crash
imagine
across
it
the
would.
line at the end of the session. Always fun to do, as you saw the car spinning on out. Before we go into the race, just because we didn't have the time to do it, we will roll a quick sponsor break while we load into the race. Thank you, and courtesy of Grid Finder. Welcome back from that short little break with the Grid Finder, who do bring us this series, but they're not the only ones who are important to mention here at the BUSR for F1, as it is also brought to you by Simply Race and SimLab as well. Amazing partnerships that help bring you the BUSR on a weekly basis for the spring split. Been partners with the league for a few seasons in a row now as well, and we're always happy to have them on board. We will be going into the race in a relatively short amount of time. However, what a qualifying we did just have.
Yeah, it was really close at the end of it. Chris is getting the lead in the end by about 3/10 from my very short memory I do have. But yeah, about 3/10 of a second separating 1 and 2. But again, people say, oh, if there's a huge gap, then it'd be a boring race. No, it's not. We saw that in Le Mans Ultimate the other day. Round actually this track, obviously, but in hypercars and GTs, there was a fair bit of a gap between the hypercars in qualifying, but the racing was none other than impeccable to watch round here. Again, it's a relatively easy track to overtake with heavy braking zones and long straights, especially into turn 1, 2, and 3 section. That's somewhere where that will be a very important place to try and stick a nose up the inside or possibly even the outside, because you will have the inside for turn 2 and the preferred line into turn 4 later on, if it will be side by side through the whole first sector, which is common to see around here. But hopefully we'll be getting underway relatively soon for this first race of the season.
Yeah, just to give a quick rundown of the grid then, you got Chris Spidakoris with that 126.286 at the top of the grid, way clear by 3/10 over Josh Woolley, who got a 126.5, and then another 3/10 margin to Alex Lansdale with a 126.8. But then a few drivers sped by only a few tenths of a second in Ben Mills, Willow, Liam Lally, Newt, and Luke Sawyer spread from 126.83 down to a 127.130, and then we get another pack of drivers adrift from that 127.8 for Assassin a bit on their own. Then it's a jump to Jake at a 128.4, 128.6 for GMT, followed by Zekron in 15th, Meet the Teacher in 14th, and Pinnock, who didn't set up any valid lap times, down in P number 15. All of those drivers will want to be able to maximize their strategy calls, to maximize their race results here today. And as we did see in the LMU race, as you rightly mentioned, we did see a huge playing factor on race strategies, but there isn't quite as much to play with in the F1 game.
Yeah, in the Le Mans Ultimate, obviously you have the energy levels, basically the fuel levels, and of course the tyre compounds. But round here, in Formula One, really, we imagine it will be a one-stop, possibly a two-stop, if you are starting on the soft compound, as we see the lights come on for this first round.
And the lights go out for the first round in the BUSR. Now, Racing Bulls has to actually get themselves checked up as they get an incredible start. But as there is a jump start penalty for that Racing Bulls, as Chris's Pilakoris is clean for the first corner, but it's not so clean for some of the cars back as it's 4 wide on the exit of turn number 1. And Chris's Pilacoris has a 8/10 league already, but behind they are still squabbling as Josh Woolley has slipped multiple positions down to P number 5, trying to keep hold of P number 4. They're going side by side, but will have to back out and check in behind the driver out in front, as behind he's already getting challenged by Lally, but their race has had a horrendous start. But Newt is trying to make their way forward already with a nice side-by-side for themselves as it's coming through into this turn number 10. But you're seeing a huge dive from Luke Sawyer, who is trying to get past the second of the Alpines around the outside of that corner. And on the exit, they do pick up that position as well.
Yeah, it's an Aston Martin 1-2 from turn 1, which is incredible work for Chris and Alex Lansdale. That'll be interesting to see if they work together. I very much doubt it, but it will be interesting to see if Chris has the pace. But it was Ben Mills locking up both his tyres into turn 1, making the mistake, somehow avoiding the back end of any other cars, but he stays up in third place. We've got moves further back into turn 14. We've got the Haas being shuffled out wide of GMT, and they will be slotting in front of Xeon. But where is the McLaren of Pinnock? He has shot from 15th on the grid all the way up to 8th on track by lap 1. That is an incredible job, as we do have a front wing change for one of the Red Bulls of VZR, Newt. That will be a game changer later on. I imagine he is going to slap on the hard tyres. And we've also got a Sauber sliding into his pit box. And again, a nose cone change for him. So clearly there has been contact between some of the cars, possibly them two. It'll be interesting to see what happens later on, as we've got a battle for second place on the podium. A lock-up into turn 10, but Ben Mills now has a slipstream, has the DRS wide open. Will he make a move into the relatively quick turn 11? No, that is the answer. Next overtaking opportunity, turn 14, but really that is tough because there isn't a DRS activation zone between turn 13 and 14. As they will be swooping down the hill.
The key characteristic of this circuit is that fact that you're always chasing the cars in front through that main start-finish straight, where that is your best overtaking opportunity, but you can never make it work because you'll always open up the opportunity to make the overtake stick afterwards instead. But we do see Ben Mills able to make it work going into turn number 1, but finds himself a lockup and will need to get onto the power really early, as you see the cars behind him getting all leery as well, which might open up the opportunity for Willow onto Alex Lansdale. But with that DRS assistance, it will neutralize that threat at least somewhat for now, as we go through the tight and twisty section again with their wings still completely intact, even though they got a little bit leery.
Yeah, as long as there's a gap at least for a piece of paper, they should be okay. But that was not a gap for a piece of paper, as we've got Sauber and a Haas again battling it out. That's Meet the Teacher forcing GMT off the track at turn 4. Not sure if there'll be any penalties there. I very much doubt it if it was fair play, as they'll be going defensive into turn 9 and 10. That'll make them offline. Braking and turning will cause a lockup, but doesn't very well controlled on the brake pedal for Meet the Teacher, as he will go defensive into turn 11 and stays in front. That Ferrari powered Sauber holding off the Ferrari powered Haas for now, as they sweep up the hill down to the back straight without a DRS zone. But Ben Mills sliding into second place for now, harvesting through turn 14. That's a very wide teammate, very wide moment for Ben Mills' teammate Woolley, going wide at turn 15. Like I've said multiple times today, you make a mistake around turn 14, you will be worrying about turn 15 and will probably be going off the track. Ben Mills, relatively comfortable now in second place with a 7/10 of a second gap for behind, as Alex Lansdale actually has to go slightly defensive. We do have yellow flags, and there is an Alpine that has gone off its turn 3 extremely wide. It's very easy to do there as the back end is restricted. It has been contact with the wall. I don't think so. At least the front wing looks relatively intact from our camera angles so far, and that was Jake going off.
Yeah, and then we see GMT forcing their way through back on Meet the Teacher, who forced them on off track a little bit that lap prior as well. But it's Alex Lansdale who's finding themselves on the defensive drive. They held up Ben Mills for a couple of laps and brought their teammate 2.1 seconds for them to chase on down, but now they're slowly drifting away from that DRS detection point again, and now potentially opening up that threat from Willow behind, and Liam Doherty in that previous lap getting the fastest lap and catching up to this train and catching back up to Wooly Blobs and the DRS in his detection, but he's still on that cusp, which is giving him a bit of a risk. Luke Sawyer, as further down the track, potentially from Lally getting us another yellow flag, but do keep their front wing clean, most importantly.
Yeah, double lockup for Ben Mills. He's going to slide wide, making turn 2 a little bit tighter in turn 3. Will be compromised as he heads down into turn 4. He might be under pressure from Alex Lansdale, who's got DRS, but holds him off for now. Just has a straight line speed of that Mercedes engine. Further back, we do have that battle with Meet the Teacher and GMT for that 10th place for now. Slipstream, DRS, simply not powerful enough into turn 4, which is an off camber. It's very difficult to make a move around the outside and stay within track limits. Meet the Teacher, for now, holding him off, but this is the back of the main pack for second place. Really, it's a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, kind of breaking into their own battle as we're on board with Luke Sawyer in that beautiful pink, sliding through turn 11, 12 and 13. The back end not happy about that whatsoever. More battling to Meet the Teacher and GMT. Meet the Teacher has to go defensive into turn 11. Round the outside, this isn't going to be an impressive move if he makes it stick, and because it's around the outside, he couldn't quite make it stick for GMT for now, but who will have the advantage? But look at that. Jake, who went off earlier, we know he's got the pace, possibly faster than these guys in front of him. Be interesting to see what happens before, but in front of them, Luke Sawyer finally gets past Liam Doherty in the other Alpine into turn 1. DRS simply got the power and the move done well before the braking zone. Little lockup, but that will be absolutely fine. Meet the Teacher going defensive once again into turn 1. That's going to compromise him. He's going to go extremely wide into turn 2 and swooping round the outside. It was a brilliant move for GMT as he has a DRS for good measure down into turn 4. That was an incredible move. Simply finding the gap and finding the mistake for Meet the Teacher. Meet the Teacher will not give up. Jake will be hunting him down as well. On board with the McLaren for now, we got Willow chasing down Alex Lansdale for the final step of the podium.
Meet the Teacher having a huge defensive drive on their hands here today, as they have been struggling to find clean space to find themselves the ability to find that consistent lap time to really be able to make any kind of track position work. Instead, they've been fighting GMT consistently, who is finally trying to break away from Meet the Teacher, who's been holding them up for so many laps in a row now, and then now defending from Jake behind them instead. And if they take too much time, that's going to open up the opportunity for Lally and Newt to race themselves back into this one. But it's still important to see that main pack and the main battle of this front pack being between Liam and Luke Sawyer, who both can't keep consistently within that DRS range of Woolly Blobs, which are making it a lot easier to race themselves, as Ben Mills is clearly able to take the defensive line and keep in front of Alex Lansdale for now within this race, which is opening up that opportunity for him to keep within DRS, but not have to drive too defensively, as Willow won't be able to attack him without that DRS advantage, which is so critical on the F125 game, as it is crucial to pick up that slipstream doesn't quite scale into effectiveness as it did on previous titles, which means that DRS is ever so more crucial to have as an advantage, and it means that driving within a pack is just that much more difficult.
Yeah, we get these DRS trains forming where it's relatively simple. It's a train of cars in a DRS train, but meet the teacher swooping through into turn 11, getting past GMT once again. This is sizing up to be a great battle, defensive through the S section, as we do have yellow flag sector 1, but they got going once again as they're going to go down the inside of turn 13. Meet the teacher has to go off wide. The Haas versus Sauber, and Jake might get involved in the Alpine heading down into turn 14. That is not an overtaking opportunity, really, because you have to think about this long straight. And he's got a 3-second time penalty. Meet the teacher for multiple warnings. I imagine that will be for track limits. We're on board with Jake, who's got the best view of the house. Meet the teacher is going to swoop back past the Haas into turn 1, and whoa, that is leaving it very late from Jake. Double lockup, trying to avoid the back of GMT's Haas. Does so for now as the battle continues up into turn 4. And we do have our first pit stop for the Racing Bulls. Very quick and effective for a quick change of tyres. I believe that's onto the medium compound. But there we go. Jake's getting involved with Meet the Teacher. And Jake gets passed through the S section of Sector 2 into turn 8. Beautiful move. I think possibly Meet the Teacher might have gone wide. We've seen him doing that a couple of times around turn 4. And now Jake has GMT to try and get past. If I was Meet the Teacher right now, I would try and stay right behind Jake. Not overtaking though, because that'll just compromise him even more, because his battle is really with GMT. He'll be trying to use the DRS and the slipstream, like we said before, in the DRS train to catch up to GMT. Hopefully, Jake will overtake GMT relatively quickly, and Meet the Teacher can get involved as well. Jake is on a medium compounded tyre, which will be interesting to see later on if anything happens. And we do have our first retirement of the day.
Yeah, Zekron sadly retiring from this race really early on, but what we didn't see on screen is Willow finally breaking that margin to Alex Lansdale and finding an advantage, potentially capitalizing on a mistake instead of finding an opportunity, as the gap to Ben Mills between the two drivers has grown exponentially, and the move was made on the non-DRS straight at the back end of the circuit instead, as they was clean past before the end of that start-finish straight, which definitely invites Willow, who's already catching up to the back end of Ben Mills, to race against them. But we are now seeing that flood of initial penalties for people being a little bit risky on the track limits, with Assassin, GMT, and Liam all picking up penalties of their own simultaneously on the exact same lap. However, in terms of tyres, the Ferrari of Assassin, GMT, and then Meet the Teacher are on a completely different strategy that Newt got forced into joining early on in this race, starting on those hard tyres, which will give them that medium tyre later on into this race. But there is still a high likelihood that this is a 2-stop race on our hands here this evening due to the high tyre wear in this 50% race around Bahrain. But Willow already trying to close in this gap onto Ben Mills. It will take just a little bit of time, but we have seen Ben Mills is weak on the brakes at points in time, but not weak on the brakes is Wooly Blobs, who sends it from a mile back, which potentially is showing that Alex Lansdale is struggling with more than just a single time issue for himself, and actually a bigger issue on his hands with that of tyre wear or something that is forcing him to struggle in terms of grip in these heavy braking zones.
Yeah, you talked about Newt earlier, and he's definitely a driver to watch for the rest of the race. He's relatively gaining to the pack in front of him, especially because GMT, Jake, and Meet the Teacher are battling out. Talk about that battle. Meet the Teacher just got past Jake, but Jake gets past once again into turn 4. But Newt, on that slightly different strategy, on the hard tyres, if there is a safety car, that will play into his hands in about, I'd say, 5 or 6 laps time, when all the medium runners will be pitting for their hard tyres. That will play into his hands, as he'll get a cheaper stop. He'll be on fresher tyres and a softer compound of tyre 2, giving him the advantage and the grip advantage as he locks up into turn 10. That's exactly what I want to see, as I was talking about the high grip. Anyway, He's got Meet the Teacher now in view, just 7 seconds. But of course, they are having a heavy battle between Meet the Teacher, Jake, and GMT. It's kind of all breaking up into little groups of 3, 4, or 5 cars, really, as we get another pit stop for the Racing Bull team of Luke Sawyer, getting that hard compounded tyre. I don't imagine we'll be seeing, well, we could be seeing him one more time into the pit lane in, I'd say, 15 laps time. Or he could possibly take care of the tyres and get massive lockup as he gets slightly in front of GMT4 now. He'll be on colder tyres. His back end will be squirreling all over the shot. The exit of turn 3. Will GMT be able to get involved into turn 4? No, not for now, as Luke Sawyer stays in 9th place, importantly.
Yeah, critical that he keeps that 9th place, as we're seeing the battle between GMT Jake and Meet the Teacher for this last points-paying position has been a devastating boon to everyone in front, has brought 10 seconds to Assassin J out in P number 8, and Luke Sawyer has perfectly judged that. He got out directly in front of him and hasn't been held up for a second, which will allow him now to get some clear air for 10 seconds in front of him. But will that encourage anyone else to start responding into the pit lanes, as Ben Mills will be one of those drivers to dart on in, with Alex Lansdale as well deciding to take that pit lane entrance, with Liam Doherty taking it as well. He does have a penalty to his name already, though, for track limits excursions, as we are 11 laps in, and finally seeing these people start to come off of these tyres. But we see an issue for Pinnock, as they end up spinning and not coming directly into the pit lane, and they will end up in the pit lane instead afterwards, though, as they had a little bit of an issue coming through that last corner before they head towards that pit stop.
Yeah, very clear that the medium tyres will be starting to hit the cliff of grip. It's one of those things where if you just push your tyres a little bit too much, they will overheat, they'll lose grip, and you'll have to come in to change them. And that is what happened to Pinnock in that McLaren. He's clearly pushed the limit a little bit too much for his aging medium tyres. Looped it round at the exit of turn 15 and then sliding into the pit lane for his fresh, hard tyres, which is just saying 10 laps newer than neat. So I imagine you'll be seeing that gap drop very, very quickly. Interesting to see later on, though, if Willow will be able to catch up to Chris's, especially with Ben Mills pitting. Willow will now have the clean air with Ben Mills behind him. There are penalties all around, and the leader, Chris's, is coming into the pit lane. So is Willow, to get those old tyres off and getting the new shiny, hard tyres on. And that is Wooly possibly even holding up one of the teams now. Willow just gets in front of the Williams driver for now. We are on board with Luke Sawyer. Luke Sawyer will be important to see where he comes out, in front or behind Wooly, as he's going to make a move on Alex Lansdale into turn 1. Lansdale locks up, and that is a move for Luke Sawyer, getting himself up into a current P5, possibly even higher after a couple more penalties and pit stops. Luke Sawyer now slightly defensive into turn 4, making his intentions aware that he will not be letting Alex Lansdale pass anytime soon without a hard-fought battle. But Luke Sawyer jumping up to P5 for now in the race, hunting down Willow just 2.3 seconds in front, both relatively new tyres.
Luke Sawyer being by far the biggest benefactor of the pit stop cycle. He found himself pitting 1 lap earlier or 2 laps earlier than everyone else in that pack that he was racing within, and he has made that undercut work. He has jumped Wooly Blobs, he has jumped Alex Lansdale, and gapped Liam Doherty, who had issues with GMT, getting past him on the exit of his pit lane. And he is now in provisional P number 4 once that Ferrari hits pit lane, but they might not be hitting it for a little bit of a while, as they are on those hard starting tyres and will act as a bit of traffic, which Christos Pilakoris obviously has already dealt with, still over 2 seconds out in front of this race. And he got given a gap by Alex Lansdale's defensive moves earlier on, and he has made it stick. He is now running a consistent pace into this race and is showing exactly why they were so dominant in that previous season of BUSR and are trying to replicate it here once again.
Yeah, Newt is now P11 on the field. Obviously, he has had already a pit lane and a front wing change. That is why he is relatively further down on the field. It'll be interesting to see what happens now. If there is a safety car, it's a no-brainer for him to pit. It will be a push to do it on a medium compound. He will definitely be able to do it on and that is another yellow flag, I believe, for an Alpine at the exit of turn 3. Once again, I think that might be Jake again making a mistake at the exit of turn 3. I imagine the back end just not very happy with that, which is really disappointing because if JMT and Meet the Teacher kept on having that battle, they would pit and be behind Jake. With that spin, that has cost Jake a huge amount of time and huge amount of positions and possibly points if he crossed the checkered flag without those spins. Locking up though is the Ferrari of Assassin. Again, like you said, will be a roadblock for the other drivers on a whole older hard tires. Sliding through is Ben Mills though, and Willow. Importantly, Willow will be on the tail of Ben Mills. Ben Mills slightly wide. It's an interesting thing, the lines around Bahrain. It's a relatively wide track as it's purpose built for Formula One. And it will be interesting to see the different lines into turn 4, relatively the same between Ben Mills and Willow, taking the full curves on the entry, hitting the apex at the apex, and sliding well wide of turn 4, but keeping within track limits. Further lockups for Ben Mills, that'll be hurting his front tyres as he swoops down into turn 9. Off camber into turn 10, more locking up. This is not good for Ben Mills if he wants to be taking care of those tyres. But he is holding up Willow for now for about half a second between them. Willow will obviously have DRS. He will have that advantage for now. But it'll be interesting to see what happens down into turn 1. Is he going to be closer? We're on board with Newt now. He has caught up to Meet the Teacher, and they both don't have to pit. Well, technically, they are all on the same strategy, are they not? Because they're on the hard compounder tyres. Newt, we saw much faster in qualifying, should be able to overtake relatively easy for Meet the Teacher. It'll be interesting to see what Meet the Teacher does. Will he let him pass or have a good old battle as Chris sets a new fast lap of the day, a 1:30. Honestly, I didn't get the rest of it, but a 1:30 as he extends this gap at 3.6. Now that's interesting. Newt coming into the pit lane now. Clearly, he's just caught up to Meet the Teacher. Meet the Teacher, I imagine, wouldn't just let him pass. He will have a penalty to serve, so it would be straight away. But as soon as he got into traffic, he pitted to try and get the undercut, I imagine, for later on in the race. It'll be interesting to see when Meet the Teacher and GMT slide into the pit lane. To be fair, that battle has fallen apart now. It's a 2.5 second gap between Meet the Teacher and GMT. It's a real shame because it was a great battle to be watching. Maybe one of them has picked up a little bit of damage as we've got side-by-side moves into turn 11. Once again, Assassin trying to hold on as long as possible on that hard compounder tyre. Luke Sawyer sliding through. Alex Lansdale, who was running second place at the start of the race at the end of lap 1, has now dropped down to 6th, will be a net P5 once he gets past the much slower, older tired Ferrari of Assassin. Imagine Assassin will be pitting anytime soon, possibly even now. No, he stays out for just a little bit longer.
Yeah, no, he's making this extension work. He's proving that these hard tyres have enough life to go quite a while. 17 laps complete for himself, but it's still going to be a really, really long stint for everyone else on their sets of hard tyres. Pitting on lap 11, if they was to do 17 laps on top of it, they would be able to make it towards the end of this race. But you're seeing that pace degradation that Assassin is struggling to deal with, but is just trying to make it so he has to do a much easier stint on that medium tyre that wears out so much more quickly. But it feels like a driver who's been in this train but hasn't had enough attention is Josh Woolley here in P number 6 out on track at the moment. He has had a bit of an unfortunate race on his hands, currently down 4 positions compared to where he qualified. Meanwhile, his teammate is up 2 positions in Ben Mills, taking that P2 away from where Josh Woolley was. As the biggest risers of that of Luke Sawyer, who had that amazing advantage through the pit stop cycle, through that undercut as well, getting up into P number 4. Meanwhile, Pinnock, who is still a P5 positions at the maiming, did have a spin, but potentially has jeopardized their overall result, but they're still hanging on to the points at the moment.
Yeah, it's a really good job for Pinnock to slide into the pit lane when he had that spin as Assassin. The roadblock, the moving chicane for the lead runners is coming into the pit lane to get rid of those hard tyres and I imagine get onto those mediums for the last 11 laps of this race. And my God, this race has gone quickly. It's been very entertaining of battles up and down the grid for now. But Pinnock, yeah, going up 5 places from the start of P15. He obviously couldn't set a lap time, most likely because of track limits going wide for all of his fast laps. But up to P9 now, as he will get, or P8 actually, as he will get past the Ferrari Assassin in the pit lane as he leaves the pit lane for now. And it's you're just talking about Woolley as well. He's just got a 3-second time penalty for abusing track limits. Now that could be costly for the rest of the race because all the drivers in front of him for now doesn't have any penalties, so he'll be running with a 3-second penalty for the rest of the race unless he takes it in a pit stop later on. But I don't see why anybody else would be taking a pit stop now. DRS wide open for Pinnock as he is chasing down Assassin, who is on the brand new medium tyres, so this will be definitely a battle to watch. Assassin does have a penalty for now, and Pinnock for now. Don't get my words out. I can't speak today, honestly. Pinnock does not have a penalty for now, so that'll be interesting to see if Assassin will let him pass or battle it out, and how hard will Pinnock battle out, because there is a 20-second gap between 8th place and 7th place. So Pinnock will need a miracle if he wants to get any higher than 8th place today, but still an impressive job from 15th on the grid. Now, these are really the trio that is the lead battle for now, or the battle that's highest in the positions for 4th, 5th and 6th. Woolley, again, having that penalty, really disappointing, but incredibly close to the back of Alex Lansdale, who will also have DRS. He's going to go defensive, weaving down the back straight, but nothing either driver could do into turn 11 for now. But this is definitely a battle to watch for big points, 4th, 5th and 6th.
Yeah, Alex Lansdale slowly slipping down the grid, but proving that he is a good defensive driver here in Bahrain. He can set a good qualifying and defend those positions off, but will want to improve on that lap time consistency going forward in the season and not open up opportunities like he may have done with that poor exit to Woolley, but he does still have that helping hand of DRS, which will keep Woolley at bay again. Now, it's crucial to say that Pinnock is trying to make him stay within the 3-second penalty of Assassin, but is proving it to be difficult on those worn, hard tyres. But as we did see, as I put over to Newt, during the pit stops, he was able to undercut Meet the Teacher and GMT to get himself into P number 10, but any hopes of getting anything more are 11 seconds down the road, and he needs to start charging towards Pinnock to make that overtake work.
Yeah, if Pinnock and Assassin start to battle, which I doubt will happen now because there is almost a 2-second gap between them. As, like you said before, Assassin is on fresh tyres. It will give him the advantage, but it will be a slipstream race into turn 11 for Wooly. He will go around the outside for turn 11. This is a lunge and a half. Will he be able to make the move? Stick sliding out wide onto the marbles. No is the question to that, as Alex Landslade survives just one more lap in front of the very fast charging Willie in that Williams. And look at that, Liam isn't too far out of the question. So if these two cars keep on battling it out, we could have a three-way battle for 5th place. But we got a battle for another podium step. Between Willow and Ben Mills, the two Mercedes-powered McLaren and Williams fighting it out. 0.3 of a second separate them for now. DRS wide open for Ben Mills as he will be looking for a move into turn 4, and that is a no for now. Sweeping through the S section of sector 2. Sector 2 is notorious for being difficult to overtake for this track. But it is not impossible for now. We are looking at the battle behind them two. Going extremely wide was Wooly at turn 7. I think there's some debris. I don't know if that's a glitch in the game or not at the exit of turn 7. So possibly a puncture to watch out for, but I very much doubt it. It's extremely hard to get a puncture in this game from running over debris. It's not unheard of, but it's slightly harder than other versions of this game. Alex Lonsdale, though, holding off Wooly for now. I've been noticing quite a few. Look at that. Confetti once again. Yeah,
it's a little bit of a visual spectator bug that ends up occurring within the game, especially on certain graphic settings that I end up having to run. But Alex Lansdale has found a lot of pace at the moment as he's rapidly caught up to the back of Sawyer on that back end straight. I'm guessing that's potentially him deploying a huge amount of ERS, but he has found an absolute metric ton of time down that back straight and actually put Luke Sawyer under a decent amount of pressure. Now, though, that pressure will die down on that next straight, and he won't have that same level of overspeed, which is a crucial thing that we're going to see as a bit of a difference going into the next F1 season, and potentially for the next year, even though we are staying on F1 26. They have said they're going to bring us at least a car update. At least that's what they said, but with an EA games, you never know for sure. However, it will be crucial if we do get them, but it's potentially going to replicate what we're seeing in real life. Huge amounts of overspeed, huge amounts of clipping, to the point that they are dubbing it super clipping with the ERS management. And in the F1 games already, we see the drastic difference of having ERS to deploy versus non-deployment. At some tracks, it's as extreme as being faster than the benefit of DRS. And that's only going to ramp up to 10 with this next season's new set of engines. But I will quickly go back to Willow, who was sneakily warmed up into this race and has been a very, very strong competitor. But starting a little bit lower down the grid in qualifying and not necessarily finding anything work in the early stages of both stints relative to their position. However, as the tyre wear starts to build, they have found a good consistency of pace and have consistently been able to make up positions on the higher tyre wear. But they will have to be careful. They get boxed in by the lap traffic of Jake in that Alpine, who came into the pit lane, but they do dispatch them quickly and get a helping hand of DRS as Ben Mills has to be careful on the back end. But they both will cleanly get past that lap traffic and get back to their battling, as behind the trifecta of Luke Sawyer, Alex Lansdale, and Wooly Blobs will be tackling that traffic of Jake within a next couple of laps. But it has been a defensive drive for Luke Sawyer ever since he got these positions on that fresher rubber by pitting earlier in this race, and he is making it work going into this back end with only 6 laps remaining and a bit.
Yeah, that's a bit confusing from Jake. Clearly he's pitted for, I imagine, soft tyres for whatever reason. But it's very strange that he kind of battled with them through turns 1, 2, and 3. If I was Jake, I'd have just hung back in the pit exit and just let that gaggle of cars through. But anyway, it's up to him. He would have got the blue flags. He would have known what was going on. If he wants to have a little bit of fun, fair enough. Willow and Ben Mills, not much affected by them. Ben Mills within a DRS. Honestly, these words in my mouth are not coming out of my mouth. It's not going very well. But Ben Mills is catching rapidly up to Willow, less than 0.2 of a second between them, nose to tail. As if once again you can see Jake there, like a shark trying to hunt his prey, even though they're not really his prey. Ben Mills is the shark in that instance, hunting down his prey of Willow extremely close. He would have lost a fair bit of downforce through turn 1 and turn 2, turn 3, as we got more battling behind him for the 4th place. Luke Sawyer once again leading that battle for now. He's swooped up the field from a relatively lonely qualifying position, and a huge lockup there for Alex Lansdale, trying to avoid the back end. He will be compromised at the exit, turn 8 into turn 9 and 10. Will Wooly have a quick look? And that's a no for now, as Wooly himself takes a lockup. DRS activated, slipstreaming for both of them, making a slight look for Wooly, but nothing there for him for now, as the Aston Martin has the legs for the Williams just for now.
I will point out that Newt is catching this lap time at a rate of knots to Pinnock. It's going to be marginal. It's 6.4 seconds at the moment towards Pinnock in P number 9. But a second helping of points might still be on the table for a driver who had picked up damage early on this race and put a set of misfortunes to their name. But a driver who hasn't had misfortunes, unless he has to go really defensive, as we are constantly seeing Alex Lansdale find an advantage in ERS saving and just be absolutely rapid down these straights consistently across this last few laps, ever since we crossed that 20 lap margin. He is finding some place to find a little bit extra ERS and trying to make it work, but still unable to at the moment. And Jake's actually been able to keep up with this train of Willow and Ben Mills, so might not actually be lap traffic for that trifecta to end up dealing with. But right now, Willow is actually pulling away a little bit from Ben Mills and trying to stretch the legs of this McLaren that he is trying to make work, as he is clearly in a very, very good rhythm. And every time we've watched him, we've seen him make no lockup at all.
Yeah, Ben Mills locking up a fair bit compared to Willow. That could be compromising his performance. I keep on thinking Jake is Luke Sawyer in a very same coloured pink livery car. I keep on thinking they're somehow really, really close, but no. Luke Sawyer is about 8 seconds behind. Alex Lansdale is keeping him company, and Willie is keeping both of them company as they slide through into lap 26 of 29 of this race. Just a few more laps to go. Alex Lansdale, DRS open, will be having a look down the inside of turn 1. Nothing there. Willie may have a chance at the exit of turn 1, 2, and 3. He'll get the line. He'll get the DRS, but it was compromised at the exit of turn 2 into turn 3. That will not help him whatsoever through the straight and into turn 4. Alex Lansdale has lost a fair bit of time, up to 0.7 of a second now, and falling further and further behind through that S section to see what happens through the DRS zone. But we got on board now with Lally right behind GMT. GMT has been battling all race with a Sauber, this time with the Racing Bulls. The Racing Bulls slide through into turn 1, gaining that place up into 11th. For now, GMT drops behind into 12th place, but GMT will not be giving up that position anytime soon. We've seen him battling with Meet the Teacher. He is incredibly good at his racecraft. Just a few too many mistakes for today. We ride on board Alex Lansdale at the top end of the field, just half a second behind Luke Sawyer. He will be getting DRS. And he'll be deploying his ERS to try and catch up to Luke Sawyer as much as possible. We've seen him doing this so many times now but he's not catching up as quick this time around. Maybe saving his ERS for that straight between turn 10 and 11. Very close up at the braking zone for turn 1. He'll be losing all sort of downforce in the dirty air through turn 2 and 3, possibly compromising him a little bit to Willie, but nothing substantial enough for him to lose any positions or make any mistakes. These 3 drivers have been battling it out for so long. Luke Sawyer has had pressure on his back for so long now. It's incredible how well he's been holding off the other 2 drivers of the Aston Martin and Williams of Willie. But don't forget, Willie does still have a penalty, so he'll have to overtake both of them and somehow get a 3-second gap if he wants to hold those places for 4th, 5th, and 6th. More side-by-side action for GMT into turn 1, 2, and 3. GMT, for now, holding off the attacking racing bulls for Lally in P12 for now. Defensive into turn 4, that's going to compromise his exit. He's going to have to make it tighter through the S section. You can see how much more curb Lally is taking on the exit of turn 4 through the S section into turn 8. We've seen quite a few lockups in here. Nothing for now. Relatively safe and sound into turn 9 and 10, the hardest corners on the track, and it'll be interesting to see later on. But we do have yellow flags in sector 2. I don't think we have to worry about that for any time soon. But we've got a move for Willie, making a move, I guess, into turn 14 on Alex Lansdale. Alex Lansdale trying to take back that 5th place, but nothing into turn 1. Maybe Willie will be challenging Luke Sawyer for that 4th position. We've got more yellow flags through turn 2. Oh no, that is Lally. Lally with a broken front wing, spun round at the exit of turn 11. That's a huge disaster for the battle for 11. It'll be interesting to see if GMT has any damage as well. I imagine there must have been some sort of contact between them. They've been battling it so hard for so long now that it's a shame that there has to be fireworks. And I imagine he'll be coming into the pit lane to get a new front wing on. That Lally, for me, will be the best place, will be P13. And it's so late in the race as well, with just 2 laps to go. There'll be relatively no recovery for him after that incident. Now, back at the top end of the field for P4, 5, and 6, Willie now in 5th place. Alex Lansdale will be using his ERS trick to try and get the benefit down the main straight.
Yeah, Alex Lansdale, as I was pointing out by bringing up the telemetry, it's just so good on this ERS. He constantly finds an advantage to give himself a bit more of that top-end speed, but we do finally go into that final lap, and Willie is so racy behind Luke Sawyer, but it's all so late, and he gets really sideways behind Luke on the side of Luke Sawyer. He will get through and try and charge away, but he won't get a handing of DRS, and will probably be making these moves just to lose them to that devastating penalty that he brought up for himself. But crucially for the race here today, he hasn't been proven that he can get past, but it's unlikely for him to find that 3-second gap. But he will prove that he can finish P4 on the road. But we're just looking back a little bit. GMT and clearly hitting or potentially having an issue with Lally that caused them to pick up that damage. But we are only moments away from crowning Chrysis Pilakoris as the race #1 champion, as he has one final corner to go. He got the qualifying position on pole. He has led every single lap, besides from the pit stop window, and he continues the streak from the last season of dominating out in front, as Willow spins across the line with a very solid P3, with Ben Mills coming out behind that. Willie Brobs proving their ability to race and get into P4 on track, but will finish in P6 as Luke Sawyer gets some of the most positions gained, and Liam Doherty crosses the line in P7, as then just 21 seconds adrift behind that. Assassin J down in P8 will continue to hold on to that position even with that penalty. But looking behind, Pinnock has found the pace to hold off the mighty charge of Primary Newt behind, who has been catching and catching and catching, and towards the line will get within a second, just barely over. However, will not find that second point. But what a recovery drive from the damage they found early on in this race, as finally across the line, GMT comes across in P number 11, leaving Meet the Teacher, who seemed to be battling with GMT for the entirety of that first stint, not able to keep up in this second stint, will finish down in P number 12. Both Jake and Lally picking up damage, with Zekron retiring from the race down in P15 here at Bahrain. Brought to you by Gridfinder, NSC, Sim Lab, and Sim Racing. However, all of the praise is got to go to Chris's Pilacoris, who is just proving that they are on top in terms of form, and it's Aston Martin domination under the floodlights in Bahrain with a P1 finish and a great result from Lansdale as well, clearly stating a claim at the top of the constructors and drivers standings. But the driver pairing of Ben Mills and Josh Woolley will be left wishing and hoping that they could have found more from this one.
What a race it was for Chris's, almost unchallenged from the race start. As you can see, he holds the fastest lap as well. Driver of the day goes to Pinnock. An incredible drive for him, starting 15th, zooming up to P9. Incredible race for him as he makes a solid start to his championship. But it was Chris's who takes a win and the fastest lap, 25 points on the board. What an incredible race it was for the man in green. It was it's basically a perfect race. And it was Willow and Ben Mills who will hopefully be having in the commentary box for a quick chat after the race.
We will be seeing as if we can get them on in, as Ben Mills and Willow will be in that waiting room for us. But we will be delighted to have them join us in for this affair. However, it has been a wonderful race here at Bahrain, with a few tops and turns across all of those different parts of the race. However, I think it is crucial to say, and it's so important to mention, Princess Pilacoris has just proven why they was dominant last season, and they want to keep this going for a yet another dominant season again.
Hopefully, we'll be able to get one of the three into the commentary box to have a quick chat with them soon. But like you said, Chris's, from champion last year to an early victory this year, who will be able to challenge him at the top from what it seems like no one for now. But that'll be interesting to see later on.
Yeah, we do. I will just be checking whether, because I've never done this before, if we will be dragging them in or if we will be joining their chat. But I think that's a good first race. But I think it's surprising to see that they all toughed it out on that one-stop strategy overall in comparison to what I do think does work quite often in the two-stop strategy.
Yeah, it was really a battle between the one stops and the two stops today, well, in a way. But with this high deg track, this track, like I said very early on in the stream, was last resurfaced in 2004. But being that it's a hot climate, you don't really get much wear and tear in the surface, so it hasn't really needed a good resurface. But it's quite an abrasive track. If you get pictures of a close up of tarmac, you can see little bumps in the track, and that's where little bits of rubber normally gets ripped off these tires when they get really, really hot, causing the marbles. and it's little sharp little rocks on the surface of the tarmac, causing more wear than we usually would see on other nice new circuits. For example, like Miami, relatively new resurfaced, because it's basically a brand new track and it is relayed every single year for the Miami Grand Prix. But it will be interesting to see how the strategy differs for the next round, possibly um, a lower deg track to see how the tyres manage and if Chris's will be able to take another victory once again, and will it be Ben Mills or Willow taking up the challenge to Chris's for that victory? Will they be able to get another podium as well is another big question. Hopefully we'll be able to get them in relatively soon. We're just trying to work out
Yeah.
how to make sure that they are in our chat and they will be able to be heard by everyone. We're gonna try and we definitely have Christus, Willow, and Ben in the waiting room
Yeah,
ready
we'll
to
be
get
starting
talked
with
to.
Chris's, as I will be dragging him in now. Welcome on, Chris's. How do you feel after that win here today?
I mean, I feel pretty good. Like Verstappen would say, simply lovely, I guess. It was just in general a very calm race from the get-go. Ever since lap one where I gapped the field, I was just kind of doing my own race and just keeping the tires alive. That's about it. Really, nothing really happened in my race. It was like a free practice session.
Will you want a little bit more competition compared to last season, where you ended up dominating a lot of the races, just like you did here today?
I mean, a lot of these guys are pretty quick and they can definitely beat me, but I think it's just the fact that I could gap the field so easily because I think turn one was kind of a kerfuffle. But yeah, no, pace was very good, especially on the hards. I was very happy with that. But yeah, still, I don't think I'll dominate as easily as last season. I think it'll be closer.
We've seen a little bit closer between Ben Mills and Willow behind. Do you think if they didn't battle each other so hard at the end of the race, they could have caught up to you and challenged you for the win? Or do you think you had it all held off for that victory?
I think I had it held off. I mean, the last 5 laps, I was just going very slowly just to make sure the tires would last. And I mean, I think they only actually had a fight for only 1 lap, and after that, the gap was pretty stable nonetheless. So I think that the reason why I won today so comfortably was lap one, where I already had like a second and a half gap after the first lap, so they couldn't use my DRS, which is like everything in Bahrain, so it's like 3 zones. But yeah, I mean, they all had very good pace. Like if I did a mistake, they could have easily been very much a lot closer. But I think it was all under control in the end.
Well, it's great to hear from you, and I hope that you have a great season ahead of you again, as you did win that previous one. But is there any final questions from you here, Mej?
Oh, sorry. No. Thank you very much. No.
All right, I'll drag you back out and bring in the next driver, which will be Ben Mills. Welcome on in, Ben Mills. How does it feel to come through in P3 qualifying a little bit lower down in the grid?
I mean, I'm pleased. I've got a podium in the first race. I've already matched my best finishing position from last season, so I can't be displeased with P3. P2 was probably the maximum Chris had already gapped at the start of the race. And he was slightly quicker than me and Willow. So I can't be disappointed.
And do you think there's any way that you could have defended off Willow a little bit harder, as it did seem that in the early stages you was able to defend it off perfectly fine, and it's just more of a later stage for you?
Yeah, I think he was on a higher downforce level. So in hindsight, maybe it would have been a better idea to keep him behind by using a bit more battery. But I had to save tires as well. With the low downforce, I was just sliding and probably using the front left a bit too hard. I think I ended on 79% on the left side tires, so close to puncture range. Anyway, yeah, it's a shame, but it's a strong start.
Obviously, saw you locking up as well, which wouldn't have helped that in any kind of way. Is that an issue that you typically find yourself struggling with at Bahrain?
I think Bahrain's one of those tracks where you are more likely to lock up with the nature of the corners, and sometimes with the flicking, it's just part of the driving style, really. I mean, some corners, obviously, I didn't mean to lock up as much as I probably did, but it was a pretty clean race, really, from my side. I would have liked to pit a lap later on the first stint, but because I was leading the train, I had higher wear and I didn't manage to undercut Willow too much.
Any questions?
With battling in the podium positions, it's really difficult because there's so much risk involved in every single move that you wouldn't have if you're battling for, let's say, P10 or 11. Did you feel that? Did you feel that you maybe couldn't stick a nose in to turn one just because a podium is so much more important than just getting a few more points in second place?
Yeah, I mean, I probably could have maybe attempted to move to lap 24, 25 maybe, but it's a difficult one because I didn't know if I was going to be able to get a run on the final laps, but my battery wasn't in a great state, and I just couldn't get close enough with the lap older tires to get a chance.
Well, thank you very much for being in the commentary booth today. Is that all for today, or do we have one more coming into the commentary
We'll
box?
have Willow as well. It's been nice to speak with you, Ben Mills. Good luck for the rest of the season as well, especially out with the change track to Zandvoort. And good luck to you in the rest of the season as well.
Thank you.
Welcome on, Willow, and well done on getting that P number
Hello.
2, especially in the later stages of that race.
Yeah, I'm very happy with that. First race in BUSR for F1. Obviously did LMU on Tuesday, and I'm quite happy with that for the amount of practice I put in.
Obviously, you seem to be able to just keep the tires alive, or at least find pace in the dying stages of the stints, more so than everyone else, getting a lot of your overtakes done in that back half. Especially on Ben Mills, you seem to be a lot better off once the tire deck set in.
Yeah, I think that's historically been quite a strength of mine because I tend to practice race a lot more than I do quali. But just throughout today, when I've been comparing tyre numbers to other people, just it seems to have been a lot better. Like in the first stint, even compared to my simulations, I was ending on nearly puncture territory. But in the race today, I was like 70-something% when I came into the pits, and it was the same pit lap. So yeah, I mean, it just feels like it's a lot easier to save tyres when you're third in the train or fourth in the train when you're fighting in the front two. So I feel like that's kind of what helped me the most. When it came to Ben, that was a great fight. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, very tactical, having to be patient quite a lot. But annoyingly, I don't know how many rounds I'm going to make. So best to get my my action in now, shall we say.
Well, it would be great to see you as many times as possible, especially with you getting a second place as your first result.
I agree.
Is there any questions coming out from
I do want to come back, so...
Yeah, is there any questions coming out from you, Mish?
Obviously, Bahrain, you have had a fair bit of practice from LMU, obviously different games, different cars, but the same track layout. So I imagine you're getting a little bit bored of the Bahrain layouts. I imagine you're looking forward to a little change of scenery next time out.
I mean, it'll be quite good. Obviously, this isn't the only thing that I run throughout the week, so I do have other races in between. I think my next round is Austria that I'm doing at the moment, so it'll be quite good to get off it, but the difference between LMU and F1 is very... it's noticeable, to say the least. At the moment, I'm enjoying LMU a lot more, but F1 I'm a lot more competitive. So I think the difference there is that both the driving styles are so different that it doesn't make it boring in the slightest.
Oh, perfect. I'm glad we are keeping you entertained at BUSR. Hopefully, we'll be seeing you later on, both in F1 and LMU.
Right.
But that is a wrap for today, and it's been a great experience and great racing up and down the field, hasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Really enjoyed today.
Yeah, good racing here at the BUSR for the first round. There will be a further 7 rounds in the calendar. China will be replaced by Zandvoort next out, and then it will be Australia, Miami, Hungary, Qatar, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi, with Australia and Qatar being sprint races this season around. This has been the BUSR, brought to you by Gridfinder, NSC, and SimLab and Sim staff. We'll be catching you next week, as this will be the end of this evening's racings. But bye for now.